Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast, episode number 72. The Game Camera with special guest Pat Howard from Covert Scouting Cameras. Big Buck Registry is a virtual museum of hunting stories. We preserve a piece of Americana by interviewing and recording hunters about their hunts and experiences from across the country. And who knows, maybe we'll learn a thing or two along the way that'll help us take our hunt to the next level.
Hi, I'm Greg Rich with Hunt Masters. You're listening to one of my favorite podcasts on iTunes, the Big Buck Registry, Big Buck Podcast.
This is Lane Benoit, Master Tracker. You're listening to my favorite podcast on iTunes, the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast.
My name is Evan Coons, and I'm from Indiana, and I shot the wide load buck. And you're listening to my favorite deer hunting podcast on the internet, the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast.
Hey, this is your host, Jay Scott of the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast, and I have one seasoned hunter on the other side.
Unbelievable. It's the time to be in the woods.
Gotcha.
Now is the time. If you're headed to the woods this Saturday morning, this is the weekend to be in the woods.
This is the time, man. Where is the rut going? What's happening in Ohio with the rut? Because the rut in New Hampshire usually is around the 20th. So
yeah,
you guys are a little earlier than us, I think.
I think that this full moon is full blown here on the 6th. That it's the rut's kicking in normal.
Yeah.
Where you know between the 9th and the 15th, you're going to see your biggest bucks of the year.
Okay. I don't know if you've seen the news feed on Facebook, but it seems like everything in my news feed right now is a buck.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy what's happening in the woods right now. Like I said, I'm going to tell you from a veteran hunter. You know, I've been in the woods since probably 1993-ish.
Yep. It's
time to be in the woods right now.
Yes.
You know, it's time to get in your tree stand. I'm not going to tell you to spend all day there because I'm not an all-dayer. It's tough.
You're not an all-dayer. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's tough. I like to pull out for a couple hours, you know, just get out of the woods, get my mind off things, and then go back. I'm a hunt till 11, come out, grab a sandwich, you know, regroup, get my game plan together for the evening hunt, and go back in about 2-ish, 2:30-ish.
Gotcha.
So, but now's the time. I mean, if you can hunt all day and you're comfortable being in there all day, now is the time to be there all day long. Because,
Gotcha.
you know, the big boys are on their feet.
Gotcha. Yeah, this is no question. If you're going to hunt, this is the time to be out right now. There's really no better time to hunt whitetail than right now.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's one of them things where beginner's lucks can come right to your lap if you're just starting hunting this year. You know, you got potential to shoot the biggest buck in miles because of the rut.
Exactly. Absolutely. And there are times when you can't be outside, you can't be there watching, but there are ways to do that. And we thought we should have a special guest on to tell us kind of how to be a wildlife watcher from afar and bring on one of the best outside game camera companies that there is in the country right now. Good buddy of yours, Pat Howard.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's Pat Howard is he knows what he's doing when it comes to trail cameras.
Yep.
It's not just something that he takes very lightly. It's something he takes very, very serious. And you know, his knowledge of placement, and not only is he using it for, you know, tracking that buck movement, but, you know, he's using it for calendar photos. He's using it for, you know, surveillance for properties.
Right.
There's a multi use for a scouting camera.
Really is. There's so many other uses, and we're talking about covert scouting cameras here. And I got to say, you know, I've used many different scouting cameras over the years, starting back with, oh, man, if I can even think. I mean, it started out with a 35 millimeter when I started using them.
That's because you're old.
That's because I'm just old. And that then came into digital, and I bought digital stuff off the internet before they actually really existed. And some where people were experimenting with them. Some worked, some didn't. With flash cards, and then it shifted into the SD card. So I've had stuff, even video cameras that were, I'm not kidding you, the size of like 3-gallon jugs. That was like, that's what you put on the tree. And so this is not very stealth-like. You're just, I think the deer probably bumped into it more than it actually caught a picture of it. I still have it in my basement. It's one of the, I'm going to have like a game camera museum when I'm all said and done. Just line them up right across the board, starting with a 35 millimeter. It'll be pretty hilarious.
So you still have it, huh?
I do. Yep. I still have several. I've sold a few at yard sales, but I still have that gargantuan one that actually does video.
No kidding.
Yep. And it never really worked right from the beginning.
You know, I got a Covert, and the rest of my trail cameras went in the trash.
That's probably where all mine should go, but I keep looking at them. I was like, that one sucked, that one sucked, that one sucked. But the Coverts, aside from potentially Reconyx, and that's from Pat's mouth himself, he said this, that he thought Reconyx was just a little bit better than what Covert was, but you're also going to pay twice as much, at least, right, for the Reconyx stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, just years and years and years, I've tried to find a camera that I can actually depend on. It's going to work, and it takes pictures that I want to look at, and the pictures are clear, and the pictures are you know, something I want to show people. You know, I struggled. I had a lot of trail cameras, you know, and picked up Covert. Wow, it's impressive. It really is. You know, that's speaking from experience. I got them out right now.
Yep.
I really like Covert cameras.
I don't actually own one, but I'm about to buy one. And now that I've talked to Pat, now that I've got all the scoop I need, and now I've seen your stuff, and I've seen Allison's stuff, and I've seen every video that comes across, it seems so crisp and clear, and it picks up the videos. There's no like little pixels that are getting all scrubbed out at the end of the video. 'Cause to be honest, that's what's going on with my camera right now that I have, and it's a pretty big name brand, and those Coverts shoot better video and better pictures than anything I've ever owned.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, if you're looking, you know, covertscoutingcameras.com, and definitely check them out.
All right, man. Well, we're going to check them out, but let's get Pat on the phone.
Let's call him up. You know, we're going to learn about trail cameras.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Pat Howard, welcome to the Big Buck Registries Big Buck Podcast. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Doing well. Doing well. I was wondering if you would talk to us about some cameras tonight.
I can probably do that.
That's cool. We hear you're the man.
I am. Don't believe everything you hear, but I'm pretty good at it.
Gotcha. Dusty's on the other line, and he's loaded up a bunch of questions for you. And
that's great. That'll be great.
Let's talk some cameras. What do you say?
All right, let's do it.
All right. Dusty, I'm going to let you lead off on this one. I know you've got a lot of questions that are kind of burning in the back of your head, so go for it.
Absolutely. You know, Pat, tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are and where you come from and what you actually do for Covert Scouting Cameras.
I'm Pat Howard. I was born and raised in Sparta, Wisconsin. I lived there until I was 42 years old and got hooked up with the good people at Covert Scouting Cameras and was lucky enough to be offered a job there. So I moved from Wisconsin to Kentucky to chase the next adventure in my livelihood. I actually started running trail cameras. My wife actually got me one of the very first ones, an old photo hunter that it actually took the 35 millimeter film. It was just crazy how you'd pace back and forth at Walmart at the 1 hour photo waiting to see what you got, and then to be disappointed with 26 pictures of a weed that moved back and forth in front of it. Then you went on to the next one. But, wow, it's really come a long ways in those few years to what we've got now to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, technology is definitely advancing in the trail cam era. It's taken a spike like no other, it seems.
Yeah, it's besides an unbelievable scouting tool or a security tool, it's an unbelievable hobby too. I mean, it's just I put more time into that almost than I do in hunting itself right now.
Right, you know, and that's something that you're very passionate about. And, you know, how long have you been with Covert Cameras?
I started there in June of 2012, so it's just over 2 years.
It's over 2 years. You know, if you call Covert, you might look into talking with Pat. You know, and over the last year, I've come to know Pat pretty well myself, and very informative on his trail cameras as far as placement, knowledge of the cameras, and you know, and Covert has a great representative of having you there, Pat.
Thanks, I appreciate that. It helps a lot to have a target-rich environment that the farms we have here and the farms I'm able to run around on. They are very, very heavily populated with not only deer, but just about everything you can imagine, bobcats and all kinds of good stuff. And I want to get pictures of everything that walks out there.
Right, absolutely. Let's get into the lineup of Covert cameras that you guys offer. Let's start out with the MPE5. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, the MPE5 is our most economical camera. It's just got 4 basic settings. You can set it for 2 pictures with a 30-second delay, 2 pictures with a 1-minute delay, 3 pictures with a 5-minute delay, or a 10-second video with a 1-minute delay. It takes 8 AA batteries, 20,000 pictures on a set of batteries is common. It does not have time lapse, and it doesn't have a display screen or any of that fancy stuff. It's just a basic introductory trail camera.
Pat, who is this right for? Who's the target audience for this one?
The trail camera is a great trail camera for the beginner who wants to put it over bait or over a feeder or over mineral or something like that. And don't get me wrong, it does a good job on trails and stuff like that too. It just doesn't have the more advanced settings.
Okay, all right. So this is like your beginner model, the MPE5.
That'd be correct.
Gotcha.
So that sounds like a great camera, for the beginner and somebody that's not very knowledgeable of how a camera operates. Pretty basic. Let's bump into the MP8.
Okay, the MP8 is basically the same as the MPE5. It just that has a display screen that has more advanced settings. You can set it for, say, you wanted to do 3 pictures with a 5-second delay or 2 pictures with a 10-second delay. You can set it however you want it for that. It will also do time lapse, and it has a small display screen in there. You can actually even view the pictures on it now. You're not going to be able to tell a lot about a deer on an 1.5-inch view screen. The main thing I use the view screen for is when I first set up a camera, I will turn it on and I'll walk in front of it and have it take my picture, and then I'll go back and view the picture on the camera just to make sure I've got it aimed right where I want it.
Right. That's a great feature for picture placement. If you're ever looking to scrape or a pile of corn or any kind of bait or even a creek or a pond, whatever, it's nice to have that view.
Yeah, it's just when you get home and you've pulled that card and you go to look at pictures and you've got 100 pictures of a buck, but all you've got is from the head down, you don't have the rack because it's aimed too low. That's pretty frustrating.
Yeah, correct. And that's a great feature that Covert offers in the MP8 is the view screen there to be able to see the picture right there in front of you. That's a great feature.
That is pretty cool. Now, Pat, why is that one your best seller? Why do you think it is?
That one seems to be the best seller. It's just the performance with 8 AA batteries. It does a great job for pictures. 20 to 25,000 pictures on a set of batteries is very common. It's just small, compact. It's just a real solid little camera.
Gotcha. Cool. All right, let's move on to the next one, Dusty.
The MP8 Black.
The MP8 Black is the exact same camera as the MP8. Except the difference is that it's blacked out. It's got 40 LEDs behind a black screen. So basically what that means is it's invisible when triggered at night. No IRs will light up, no red lights, nothing like that. So it also doubles as a excellent security camera. And unfortunately, the world we live in right now, if you've got something, you have to protect it.
Gotcha. So you won't see a flash on that one?
No, invisible. It will not flash at night.
Gotcha. What's the technology behind it so it can actually pick up an image without any light?
It's actually heat and motion activated, so heat and motion will trigger it. It's just with the black LEDs on front of it, they're just not visible.
Gotcha. That's cool. So if you're trying to keep your flash down for whatever reason, whether a deer or just
a lot of guys believe that the IRs will spook deer.
Interesting.
So
what do you think?
My personal opinion is every deer has its own personality.
Okay.
I've had a 6-year-old buck on a white flash camera and not any issue at all. And then I've been hunting and actually watched deer walk around the back of the tree that the camera's hung on. The biggest thing is for the camera to be silent. Ours will one time at night when it goes from day to night, the filter clicks into place and it'll make one click, and then when it goes back from night to day, it'll click out of place. That is the only time that camera will make any noise.
Gotcha.
The biggest thing is stealth, quiet.
So you're saying I should get rid of my 35 millimeter camera?
Yes.
Gotcha.
I didn't know they still develop 35 millimeter film.
I'm not sure they do. That was just a joke. They might. I don't know.
They might.
They might.
I would put it on eBay. You know, tell them what somebody will give you for
Yeah,
it.
you get like $2-3 maybe.
The Red 40, Pat.
Yeah, so the Red 40 had always been my favorite camera. Versatile, takes the best pictures both day and night. Well, I shouldn't say that. All Covert cameras take really good day pictures. But in my personal opinion, the Red 40 had always taken the best night pictures, and it also does HD video with audio. Now, I don't know if you've ever done that, but once you start doing that, that is a terrible addiction because it takes a long time to look at 515 to 20-second videos. But the HD video with the audio is just ridiculous. I mean, I've had bucks fighting in the last week here. This spring I had turkeys gobbling. I mean, the audio just adds so much to it.
It actually gives you a sense that you're right there in the woods with them.
Right there with them, absolutely.
I was going to say that anytime, I mean, we're big audio nuts here, obviously, because we're doing a podcast, but if you watch a video and it's bad audio, you don't want to watch the video. So I can see how audio of any sort from the woods
absolutely
adds a tremendous amount to anything you're going to capture.
Now, I can't even go back to the video on our lower end cameras just for the simple fact that they don't do audio. Yeah, I just can't do it. I can't even go back to it anymore.
That's awesome. I have another camera, which name will not be mentioned in this podcast. That does not take.
It could be a Polaroid camera here we're talking about.
All right, settle down. It does not take audio, which would imply, and which would include a 35 millimeter Polaroid, of course. But no, I don't have any audio on mine, and I wish I did. This is the kind of camera that I think I would like. That one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing. You just the things. I mean, these poor deer, these poor animals, they have no idea that there's no privacy in the woods anymore. They have no idea that they're being filmed.
It's awful and great all at the same time.
It is. Sometimes you just get to one of those where I kind of wish it didn't do that good of a job.
Right. All right. So you have that one glows LEDs though.
Yep. The red LEDs will light up. My personal opinion, and I've seen this, is when in video mode for 10, 15, 20 seconds, the red LEDs will catch the attention of deer and older bucks, especially.
Really?
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
With the red LEDs. Now, the light flash or the light LEDs, not so much. Maybe in video mode it might, but in video mode, the red LEDs draw their attention. But for just pictures, they don't seem to pay it any mind.
Okay.
That's interesting.
So the Extreme Red 40 introduces sound. Got it.
Yes.
All right. Let's move on.
The Illuminator, which is the camera that I am running myself right now. Love it.
I have that. Like I said, the Red 40 up until this year was my favorite camera. I have absolutely fallen in love with that white LED camera and the color pictures at night. What I'm doing is I've found, and I had a buddy of mine turn me on to this little tip, 18 inches off the ground, angled up just a little bit, and going against all the rules of trail camera pointed west. Just for the simple fact it keeps that sun setting and the sky colors in the background. It is just unbelievable. The transition pictures being in color rather than black or white, I have absolutely fallen in love with that camera.
The Illuminator is an awesome camera. You know, I got to speak pretty highly of it because of the nighttime color photos. Oh, they're sweet.
Yeah, I absolutely love the color photos at night.
I'm going to admit to a fail right here. I set it up to take 3 pictures every 5 minutes, and it took 3 pictures every 5 minutes.
Oh, the dreaded I turn the time lapse on?
Yeah, that's exactly right. You know, and that's something that Covert is a little different in that aspect. Wasn't used to it, and I'm admitting a fail right here. But you know, that's how we like to roll here at the Big Buck Registry, Big Buck Podcast.
Yes.
We'll admit to fail.
We admit our failures here.
And it was trial and error. I was sitting there one morning. I was like, snap, snap, snap. I seen a flash. I'm like, man, there must be deer right here. And it did it again 5 minutes later.
Did you grab your bow and arrow, Dusty, when you saw that?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
But it was so dark that I couldn't. All I seen was flash. I was like, wow, that thing is bright.
Was that in the morning or at night?
Definitely don't look into it.
Oh, my goodness.
You'll be seeing stars.
Yeah, I couldn't see for about 10 minutes.
Gotcha. That's awesome.
And then it happened again. I was like, oh, my goodness. I've done something majorly wrong.
Yeah, the 5 minute trigger interval is fine. The 5 minute time lapse, it tells that camera to take a picture every 5 minutes or 3 pictures every 5 minutes. whether there's something there or not, which is
Right.
great for field scan. If you're
Right.
trying to, keep an eye on the field and see where the deer are coming out and whatnot, that's fine. But in the woods, it's probably not necessary.
Yeah, it definitely threw me for a loop, and then I had to stop and backtrack and figure it out a little more. But yeah, awesome camera. Illuminator's awesome camera. Let's move on to the Black 60.
Okay, the Black 60 has 60 LEDs. Similar to the MP8 Black, it is blacked out, so it's invisible at night. Now, for video, this also does, the Black 60 also does HD video with audio. That camera right there for the HD video with audio over scrapes and whatnot. This time of year, you don't have to worry about the deer seeing it. You don't have to worry about your random coon hunter or somebody that doesn't belong seeing it, because at night it is invisible, and it does an excellent job with the videos.
So this is like the advancement of stealth and audio and HD.
Yes.
Okay.
That camera is the best. I'd say the best all-around camera that we have that can do it all, and whether it be, whether you're hunting deer or whether you're hunting people for security camera or whatever you need that camera to do, that is the most versatile.
Okay, that's called the Outlook.
No, that's the Black 60.
That is the Black 60.
The Black 60. Okay, we skipped over the Outlook.
We'll get that next.
No, what's next?
Okay, got it.
But yeah, that's 60 LED lights, correct?
Yes, 60 LEDs. We jam, the Red 40 only has 40. The Black 60 has 60. We jammed them in there because that way I could get a little more light at night.
Right, absolutely. And I haven't been fortunate enough to check out one of them in the woods, but I'm sure that it does a phenomenal job. And the security of it not being able to be seen or picked out of a night, that's phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. That's a huge sales point too right now. And like I say, people think that the deer spook from it, so they're running for that. But we also sell a lot of cameras for security.
Right, absolutely. Not just for the hunting aspect, but for the trespasser, the person going into your garage that you don't want there. There's all
the farmer with the gas tank out behind the barn, or the tractors out in the barn. For $230, that camera retails for. It's a peace of mind. Because there's nothing better than pictures of somebody where they don't belong to get them prosecuted pretty quick.
Yeah, absolutely. There's that's the unique thing about Covert cameras. They're all different uses for them. The Outlook. Tell us about the Outlook, Pat.
The Outlook, that camera is growing on me pretty quickly too. It's got 110 degree field of view, I'll call it. So it's it's similar to a panoramic camera, but it's just one picture, and it's got a fisheye lens. It's actually a low glow camera, which means that the IRs do light up red, but they're just not as visible. That camera also does, again, I hate to harp on this HD video with audio, but that camera, the video on that camera is unbelievable, and the audio is unbelievable. The video is really good, but that camera has become my favorite for the video aspect of it, for scrapes and stuff like that.
Gotcha. That one's pretty cool too. I'm kind of liking all these.
Oh, God, it's crazy. If only you could be as spoiled as I am and be able to have a few of each one out there.
Oh, God.
I say a few in case my boss hears this.
Right.
I know the number, but I'm not saying it.
See, I thought you were the boss, Pat.
My job is to get pictures, right? And how do you get pictures without cameras?
I may have to hold that ransom here after the show. We may have to include that. We'll have to cut a deal here, Pat.
Yeah, you might be
terrible addiction.
2 less cameras by the end of this podcast.
I've been told I need an intervention, but I don't know. I'm just having fun with it.
All right, carry on, gentlemen.
The Code Black.
The Code Black. That is the Big Daddy. That camera will actually take the picture and then will cellularly, it uses cell towers to send you the photo. It can send it to either your phone or to an email address.
Wow.
The only trick is right now you need a SIM card from either AT&T or T-Mobile to make that camera work. It will send to any cell phone with any provider. It just needs that prepaid SIM card plan to go in the camera. The only trick is there needs to be cell phone signal where you want to use it.
Gotcha. That seems super high tech. Well,
that is super high tech, and that camera itself is a terrible addiction, and you will enjoy it, and it will frustrate you when you are in a stand and the buck you want to shoot shows up on your phone underneath your other stand.
Of course. Of course.
Done that. Or when you're sitting at your desk working.
Right. So it's almost it's almost bad for you in a way. It'll just teases you
and
constantly.
It can be bad for a marriage too, unless you turn the sound off on your phone at like 9 o'clock at night until 7 o'clock in the morning. Because obviously, if you get a text message at 11 o'clock at night, you're going to get out of bed and go look at it to see what's
Oh gosh!
And have you actually been there, Pat?
Oh, I've been actually. The guy's wife called me and said that if we didn't get a camera from him, she was going to divorce him.
Who are you talking to? She sounds hideous.
Yeah.
Jake.
Yes.
Jake.
Pat from Covert.
Yeah,
What's
Pat
he wearing?
from Covert. What's he wearing?
What are you wearing? Khakis.
No, he's wearing shorts and a hoodie.
Oh man.
Oh, all right. So, and then you got this rush cam thing. Is that
the rush cam? Yeah, that basically it's a small action cam that can be mounted on a gun, or it can be mounted on your bow, or on a helmet, or on a four-wheeler. It does HD video also with audio.
Gotcha.
It's a pretty cool little deal. We're going to hopefully get some really good footage of some duck hunts this fall. We just got it out. It kind of came out kind of late. This spring, turkey season was winding down, so we haven't had a whole lot of chance to get some good footage. I know a few deer have been shot. Guys haven't mounted on their bow, and we've got some decent footage, and some guys did some stuff fishing this summer with it.
Gotcha.
It turned out pretty cool.
Gotcha.
And it's actually waterproof. The one guy he was deep sea fishing. He actually, when they were getting the fish up to the boat, he actually jumped in the water with it and took some underwater footage. It was pretty cool.
Huh. Interesting. That sounds like a cool addition to the whole lineup of Covert Scouting cameras. So that's the lineup, right? Is there anything else that we need to talk about?
Those are the cameras. We have just numerous accessories, whether it be bear boxes. We call them bear boxes, but they could be called people boxes too.
Sure.
We also have master locks, and we have rechargeable batteries and SD cards and solar panels and just about any accessory you could need for a trail camera, we got.
Gotcha. Solar panels. How do you apply a solar panel?
The 2014 cameras are 12 battery cameras, which would be the Red 40, the Black 60, the Outlook, the Illuminator, and the Code Black. They have a switch on the inside of them where you can just put it on nickel metal hydrate. It's NIMH, which is rechargeable. And then put 12 rechargeable batteries in it, and then plug the solar panel into it. And the solar panel actually has a 6-volt battery that comes with it, a small 6-volt battery. So the solar panel will charge the 6-volt battery, which in turn will charge rechargeable batteries in the camera. So you will literally never, if you didn't want to ever have to go to your Code Black or whatever, you wouldn't have to.
Gotcha. All right, so that's kind of cool. Booster antenna, is that for the cell camera?
Yeah, the booster antenna is for the Code Black.
Okay.
If you're in a bad cellular area or a low signal area, normally a booster antenna will gain you 1 to 2 bars.
Gotcha. All right, and then you've got the basic other stuff. You got the rechargeable batteries, got the rapid battery charger, SD cards, and the Tree 60 camera mount. What's the Tree 60 camera mount all about?
The Tree 60 camera mount's a pretty handy little thing too. Whether you would strap it to a tree or whether you would actually just take a cordless drill and put 3 screws in it to mount it to a tree, but it actually has got like a ball joint on it, and it's got a little threaded insert on the bottom of it that'll thread onto the bottom of a camera, so you can mount it. You mount the Tree 60 on the tree and then put the camera on that. It's a lot easier to aim it then. What I'm using a lot of them for right now, we have one lease in particular. It happens to have a tourist attraction on it, luckily, and luckily not for us because people are going underneath our cable, and the no trespass sign is literally hitting them in the forehead as they go underneath. So what I'm doing is taking a ladder in there and putting cameras, 15 to 18 feet up, angled down with that Tree 60, and have quite a file of trespasser photos that the game warden has in his possession right now.
Gotcha. All right, so that's pretty cool. So if you've got land you don't want people on, that can help too, which is nice.
For sure. Absolutely.
All right, so that's the lineup of the products that are sold at Covert Scouting Cameras. Let's get into some of the details about why do we need a camera in the first place. What's your opinion on that?
It all depends on what you want to do. My personal preference is I've actually taken it and turned it into a hobby that I basically like to call remote photography is what I've turned it into, kind of. Not only do I want a picture of that big buck, but I want him in the most scenic and most beautiful area that I can find him, whether it be a waterfall or a creek crossing or the edge of a pond where there's with his reflection in the water. That's kind of the direction I've gone. Now, don't get me wrong. I still use them for scouting purposes for deer, and they also are good for scouting purposes for turkeys. But I've actually gone nuts with it. But just to begin with, I mean, a lot of people use them for hobbies too, for like pictures in their backyard or to see what critters are coming through. It's actually a really good hobby for the whole family. Actually, you can take the kids with and go check your cameras and then come back and everybody huddles up around the computer and just love looking at pictures.
Gotcha. Now, let's say you're going out to buy a camera.
Mm-hmm.
What's on your checklist of things that you want to see in a camera before you buy it?
The first thing you probably want to look for is between picture quality and battery life. Those are the two biggest things.
Okay.
The other thing to look for is your price range. I mean, if you want to find the best camera you can get available to you for under $100 or the best camera you can find for the $150 to $200 range, you probably start out with the price point and then go from there.
Okay. All right. And this is a weird question, but we like to ask weird questions on the Big Buck podcast.
That doesn't surprise me.
It shouldn't. Now that you've met Dusty, right? So what about the smell of the camera? I mean, this is just something abstract, but does it smell? I mean, do deer smell cameras? Should they soak for a while before you assume you're going to be putting them near your tree stand?
Personally, I get my scent all over everything. I want my scent everywhere, and I check my cameras, once a week or once every 2 weeks. The deer at Covert Farms know me by name and by smell. I'm like, it's like when Norm walks into Cheers when I pull up to the land. They're like, Pat, all right, he's here to bring us food and get some pictures of us. But I figured that way when hunting season comes in, they're already used to my smell and my scent, and maybe they won't be as concerned. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just how I look at it. I know a lot of guys wear rubber gloves and do spray their cameras with scent eliminator when they're done checking them.
Gotcha. Okay, got it.
About the camera, as far as the camera itself smelling, no.
Okay.
It would be the human scent on the camera that would be more of a concern than anything, I guess, if you're going to be concerned about it.
Okay, all right. So let's talk about strategy of camera placement, because there's all kinds of ways to do this. I mean, you got the camera, you can pick the one you want that's in your price range and all that kind of stuff. How do you decide where to place it and when to place it and all that stuff?
A lot of it comes down to the time of year. It's kind of a game when it starts. If you want to start in January, basically you're going to use it. You're trying to see what bucks survive. Keep an eye on them where they're shedding their antlers and what's going to go on. Obviously, January, February, March, food is going to be king because late season, winter, they're going to need something to eat. So between food and then you can see the trails going back to bed. They're going to be going bed to food. That's going to be their program that time of year. As it gets into later in the spring and they're starting to grow their antlers and stuff like that, then you're going to want to switch over to, if it's legal, mineral sites and that kind of stuff to keep an eye on the bucks when they start to grow. Food plots will start to grow. The turkeys will be strutting there in the spring. The does will start to have their fawns later in the spring. And then when you get to summer, you get the alfalfa fields and the bean fields and all that stuff to the summer months to keep track. The mineral sites are still going to be hot. And then again, you're just chasing a food source year round, basically. When the beans get done and the corn starts to come up, then the acorn starts to come up. And then after that, it's just on to the same cycle again. So basically the strategy I would implement would be just to keep chasing the food sources, whatever one they seem to be hitting at that time of year.
Okay. You mentioned, was it 18 inches off the ground? Is that your standard height?
That is not my standard height. My standard height would be waist high on a tree.
Okay.
But that illuminator seems to really, really like that low angled up sight. That seems to really give you best quality pictures.
Okay. So waist height is kind of your ideal setting.
Yeah, kind of mid thigh. For deer, I'm 6'3", so I guess mid thigh wouldn't be the same on me as it would be on most other people.
Okay.
And then if your target is deer, I mean, during turkey season, I go down to knee high, just for the simple fact they're not as tall as a deer.
Okay. All right.
But
so
it seems to be my basic height. And you also have to take into consideration uphill, downhill, and all that good stuff.
Gotcha. All right. So height matters, basically, depending upon which species you're trying to observe.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Good to know. You mentioned west being typically the wrong direction to point a camera. Tell me about the directions. Why do directions or
the most common direction to face a camera for the best quality pictures would be north.
Okay.
Then you're not dealing with false triggers from the sun as the sun rides slower or rides through the sky lower at this time of year. A camera facing east or facing south or facing west, say you're facing west, you're going to get some false triggers at night as the sun is setting. That's just part of the game. That doesn't bother me so much. But if you want to cut down on those and not have sun glare and all that stuff, then you're going to want to point it north as much as possible.
Okay, so rule of thumb, point your cameras north.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a good basic rule of trail cammering is to point it north whenever possible.
Okay. What about temperature? Does temperature matter?
Temperature does matter to some extent. When you start getting into the 90 degrees to 100 degrees, you're also going to get some triggers from heat and wind. A lot of times during the summer months, what I'll do is on the coverts, most of the coverts, everyone except for the MPE5, I believe we have a start-stop option. So when it gets to be late summer and the high heat and the wind and all that, I will just have the camera start taking pictures at 5 p.m. and then stop again at 9 a.m. And then we skip all the midday stuff because, when it's 90 degrees, there's not a lot of critters moving around there in the middle of the day.
Sure. Got it. All right. So covered temperature. What about weather? Rain, snow, excessive?
The cameras are water resistant. Don't ask me how I know they're not waterproof because they won't. I've had a few underwater that have lasted, but the success rate isn't high. If you're going to have them, like I've got two in the creek down here right now behind my house, I'm a little concerned about with the 6 inches of rain we've had. I'm pretty sure that they're, if they're not underwater, they're real close.
Okay. All right. So not waterproof, but water resistant. You don't want to submerge them in water, basically.
Submerging them is a bad idea.
Bad idea. Okay.
Bad
Good.
idea.
Note to self. All right, Dusty, what else do you have for Pat?
Yeah, I'm going to speak up for that. I was at the Kentucky Deer Classic and spent the day with Pat and Allison and Joey. And, a guy brought over a camera, and a Covert camera, and he said that it had been flooded under the water. I said, man, I took it in my hand. I wanted to open it up, check it out, see how the seals work, see how the mechanisms held up to that kind of conditions. And, that camera, when I opened it up, I was, to my surprise, that camera looked flawless on the inside and had been completely submerged underwater. It was very impressive.
No, that's not recommended. I don't recommend doing that, but it happens.
Right, yeah, absolutely. It's not something that you recommend, but I did, I can stand to it that I seen a camera that was completely submerged underwater for a couple of days, wasn't it, Pat? It was a few days that it was underwater.
Yeah, you could definitely tell it'd been underwater for a few days.
I thought the lens would be all trashed out on it. I thought the flash box where the LEDs would be gone, and actually it was in flawless condition other than, the natural mud, scum, slime that was from the creek water. It was very impressive.
I think he actually had the pictures too. I think the SD card was just fine.
Yeah, that he had pictures, and it showed pictures that that camera was going underwater. It took pictures as it was actually the creek was rising.
I did have a customer send me pictures of the bottom half of a duck.
Really?
He had his camera submerged too, and the camera actually took a picture while underwater.
Wow, that's impressive.
And took the bottom half of a duck. So, yeah, I thought that was impressive too.
Just a quick rundown of somebody buying a new Covert camera, Pat, and they have no clue where to locate this particular camera. Can you give us somebody that is just buying a camera and a location tip that would be a good location to put their trail camera?
Oh, it's pretty simple. You can go to our website, www.covertscoutingcameras.com, and you can find a dealer locator on there. And you can actually type in your address and say you want to find somebody within 25 miles of where you are. It gives you that option. Then you hit search, and it will come up with the closest dealer in your area.
Gotcha.
You can also we have numerous online dealers too. You can actually do a Google search, and you can find the online dealers too that sell Covert Scouting cameras.
Gotcha. I'm going to get back to my question. I may have missaid that. A new customer is buying a trail camera and they're wanting to place it in their woods. Can you tell us how to pick a location in the woods?
The easiest thing to do, if it's legal in your area, is to just dump out a couple gallons of corn in an area that looks to have deer traffic. It also depends on, depends on what you want to get pictures of. If you're after deer, or if you're after turkeys, or bear, or whatnot, depending on where you live. You're going to want to, like I said, the easiest way is just a bucket of corn. That'll bring just about every critter in the woods in front of your camera and get them to hold still. You're going to want to make sure it's legal in your area. If not legal in your area, then you're going to have to do a little more legwork and try and find, my favorite is between creek crossings or intersecting trails in the woods where you can find where a couple of deer trails come together at one point. That would probably be the best bet to get some good pictures, someplace with a little traffic.
What's your number one do not do with a trail camera tip?
Oh, God. I don't know. The number one do not do?
Yeah, do not. Absolutely do not do with a trail camera where you've failed so many times and, learn from your mistake.
The only thing I can say is make sure you clear everything that's in front of it, whether it be, because if there's a chance that one weed is going to grow up in front of it within 2 weeks that you're waiting to check it, it's going to grow up in front of it, and every time the wind blows it back and forth in front of it, it's going to take a picture of it. So I guess my number one thing would be to make sure that you clear out any weeds that possibly could trigger the camera that are right in front of it.
That's a great tip, That's something that's often overlooked.
Little things.
Yeah, that's 1,000 pictures of a weed.
That would drive me insane, but that makes a lot of sense. I mean, why you could sit there and have 2,000 pictures of a stupid weed that keeps blowing back and forth, and that would just drive you mental.
It's not as life threatening now as it used to be when you only had 36 pictures on the roll of film. I mean,
right.
With a 16 gigabyte card or an 8 gigabyte card that holds 7,000 pictures, it's not that big of a deal right now.
Right.
Other than it's time consuming and annoying.
Well, that's good. I mean, that saves you hours of just looking at stuff you don't want to look at. So that's good. That's a
Correct.
very time-consuming or time-saving tip right there. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
What else you got, Dusty?
Yeah, that pretty much covers it, Pat. And it's interesting that all the pictures that you post. Obviously you take care of Covert's Facebook page. And, if you guys get a chance, all the listeners, to go to Covert Scouting Cameras, DLC Covert right here on Facebook, and look them up, and facebook.com/Covert Scouting Cameras, and check out the pictures that are posted. And most of them are your farm pictures plus some customer submitted, correct, Pat?
Yes. Some will be from the Covert Farms, and some will be customer photos or fan photos.
Gotcha.
Right, awesome.
I have just a couple of last questions. If we could, Pat, tell me a little bit about the company. It was started by Joey Doris, is that correct?
Yes, Joey Doris started Covert Scouting Cameras in 2008.
Okay.
And 6 years later, we're still rolling.
And I've got to make a comment about the quality of the photos that I see on Facebook and YouTube. It seems like the video and the pictures themselves are super crisp. Probably some of the most crisp videos and pictures I've seen on any scouting camera in the industry that make it to Facebook. They're just intense. Is there some reason for that? Is there some kind of R&D that happens inside of Covert that you put in? I mean, I don't want to give away your secrets, but why does it seem better? Is it just me, or is there truly something to that?
Now, the technology is coming a long ways, really, from back in the day. And like I said, the day pictures from a Covert camera are just incredible. The color pops. Every now and again, you'll get that one that looks just like a painting. And I can't say whether it's just all the stars align. It happens to be a perfect scenario when the sunlight and everything happens to be in the right spot and that picture's taken. But every now and again, you'll get one that just turns out like a painting, and it's just amazing. Or a postcard or a Christmas card, I like to call them.
Right.
And that's what keeps you just driving for more. You want that next postcard picture.
Yeah, and I wouldn't expect that from a game camera. I mean, it's just
no,
something
it's crazy.
you think of. But it's true. Some of these photos are tremendous. And the species that you're picking up, the quality and the crispness of the detail in the coloring of these photos is something you spend a couple of years in a photography course trying to figure out, and here's this camera just kind of doing it on its own in the middle of nowhere, which is awesome.
Yeah, just hanging out there on a tree, and it gets as good of pictures as a guy could have got with a $1,000 digital camera.
Yep, exactly. So it looks like you got a pretty good team down there over at Covert. You got Joey, yourself, Kimber Odell.
Yep. She's the national sales manager. Does a super job.
Cool. Shauna Hemmerich.
Yep, Shauna does the shipping and all that good stuff. She does a good job too. Real good with customer service.
Right. And Dusty's friend, Brittany Doris.
Brittany Doris.
And I got to shout out. I got to shout out to Whitney.
She's not your typical boss's daughter. Does a super job. Brittany's a real sweetheart. Does a great job.
Gotcha. And Heather Graham, not Roller Girl, but Heather Graham, your shipping and customer service gal.
Yep. She does a great job too in the shipping end of it, and we've been absolutely bombarded. So we've all been picking up the slack for each other, and it's just a good, solid team effort.
Awesome. So where does Covert go from here? What's the strategy? What's the goal? Where do they want to take things?
I hope we go right to the top is where I'd like to see us go. But it's just going to be, I mean, it's the same with everything. You just don't know where technology will go next. I mean, just when you think they can't build another bow any better than the one they have, they do it. I mean, you just never know where it's going to end.
Gotcha. Do you think that who's at the top right now, if you had to say one?
Oh, the only name I could drop at the top, of course, is Reconyx.
Okay.
They're American made. Obviously, the price being what it is, they're just, it's an expensive camera, but you get what you pay for with them too.
Okay. Would you say you're the most economical for the highest quality?
Is, for the next tier down after, I mean, not everybody's going to be able to go out and buy a $500 trail camera and take a chance on somebody stealing it when it's in the woods. You're going to be real careful where you put a $500 trail camera, which is what a Reconyx is normally. I would say in the next tier down, we're right at the top with everybody else. We're all neck and neck right now.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, Pat, this has been great. Thank you for taking an hour or so to talk to us about cameras. I always learn something new about the direction to point a camera. I didn't know that, so that's very cool. Dusty, any final questions for Pat?
One day maybe we can check out Whitney and get her on the show and bring out Brittany and Whitney.
You can have a show for each of her personalities.
Yeah, right. We could have two characters in one show.
That would be awesome. That's how you want to do that. So appreciate that.
Shout out to Joey Doris, Covert Cameras, and shout out to you, Pat, for joining us tonight or today with the podcast. Man, awesome. And thanks for everything, and keep doing what you're doing.
Hey, no problem, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on the Big Buck Podcast. Well, I just have to say thank you to Pat Howard once again from Covert Scouting Cameras for coming on our show and explaining all these things about cameras that you don't really even think about, between setup and placement, angles, which direction do you put them in. There's so much more to this stuff than you ever really realize. I mean, at the root of it, you just want a camera that works and shoots good video and good pictures. And
yeah, absolutely.
There's nothing better than a Covert.
Absolutely. I couldn't say enough about Covert Scouting Cameras. Not only is the cameras awesome, but if you call down, their customer service is, great. It's one of them things where the whole package is complete. You don't just get a good camera and nobody to talk to if you have trouble. They've got a warranty on their cameras. Not too many people offer that. Something happens within the warranty, you send it back, you get it fixed, replaced, whatever needs to be done.
Yep. Just awesome company. They got a great business strategy, great business plan. They're running the shop the way you'd want them. It's like the old school, real high end customer service type stuff.
Yeah, it's something that's almost a thing of the past.
Right. You don't get that anymore in many locations. Usually you're calling overseas.
Yeah, and with Covert, I'm impressed with their whole operation. I like the people. I like the product, and it's one of them. The combinations are all right there for a successful business.
Exactly. So, Pat, thank you again. We can't thank you enough for coming on the show and clearing up some things. And man, you just keep rocking it with a great product. We're just very excited for you.
Yeah, definitely. If you check them out on Facebook, they're at DLC Covert Scouting Cameras, and man, check the pictures out. The proof's in the pudding.
Yep. Dusty, it's time for the Chubby Tines tip of the week.
My tip of the week. The rut is here.
Yep. That's it.
The rut is here.
Okay.
You're going to take your grunt call to the woods.
Grunt call. All right.
Your grunt call can be overly used.
Really?
If you're out there in the woods and you hit a grunt call, give it a couple grunts.
Mm-hmm.
Put your hand over the end of it. You can give it some different character.
Okay.
give it about a half hour, 45 minutes before you hit it again. Don't sit there and just keep blowing that thing, because it's gonna cause you to fail out in the whitetail woods during the rut. But definitely let a half hour pass, deer move. You see a deer come through it. It takes 5 to 10 minutes, and they're on to a different area. Give it a little time, then hit that grunt call again.
So every 30 minutes. And how many times do you grunt during that sequence? 3?
I give it 3, and then I almost give it not really a popping, but about 4 times, doing it quickly.
Kind of like the chase grunt?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Make it interesting. Put your hand over the end of that grunt call and give it a little curvature, and don't make it growl, but give it some action.
Gotcha. I've actually experienced that short, quick burst grunt in the woods before, and I ended up shooting that buck. Not that day I heard the sound, but 3 days later in the same stand setup.
Yeah, it's it's one of them. They get to chasing, they got to talk to the ladies.
Mm-hmm. I was in my stand, and it was about 8:00 in the morning, and I started hearing this crashing coming from my right. And it sounded like something big was coming. And it turned out to be 2 does went flying by my stand at about 20 yards. Zoom, right by. And then as I'm hearing that crash come by, I can hear in the background, aren't. And he's right behind them. He's probably 40, 50 yards behind them. So, and he's not running quite as fast as those doe, but the doe headed out. And when he got up to me, I grunted. I went, all right. And he stopped solid right behind the thickest beech tree you've ever seen. And I never saw him again until 3 days later.
No kidding.
Never got a shot because I was drawn back and I was expecting him to come up in an opening. But as they do, he stopped in the one spot that I had no shot.
Turned and walked straight away.
Yeah, and then I was waiting. As soon as I let it down, because I was already drawn, he took off in a mad dash. Just the way it goes. That's hunting.
Yeah, that is the way it goes.
Yep. And he was.
Just be careful. That you can overcall with a grunt call, and it's one of the things where you just got to be careful. And if you got a buck that is headed in your direction, don't hit the grunt.
Right.
But if you got a buck that's, maybe 100 yards out that don't really show any interest of heading your way, give him a couple grunts, check him out, but don't overdo it.
Awesome tip. And I believe you are absolutely 100% correct, because it's just not natural to hear a grunt call all the time. They'll do it for a good span, but then they'll stop.
Yeah, it's just one of them things that I'm hoping just helps that person, that hunter that's out there using a grunt call. Just don't just sit there and keep blowing that thing, because it's really not how it works.
Yep. Well, awesome, man. Thanks again to Pat Howard. Dusty, how can we find you?
Facebook.com/Chubby Tines Outdoors. Check me out at Dusty Hunt Nick right there on Facebook. Jay Scott, how can the people find you and the Big Buck Registry?
All right, this is a mouthful, and we do this every week, but I've got it memorized. So first and foremost, I would like to invite you to join us on iTunes. If you're an Apple user, it's www.bigbuckregistry.com/iTunes. Go to the iTunes channel, give us a review, give us a 5-star review if you'd like the show, and subscribe there to the show. And it's a free subscription, so I don't know why you wouldn't, but you get to be notified every single week when a new show comes out, and you don't have to go looking for us. It'll just tell you when it's there. After that, you can check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/Big Buck Registry. And if you'd like to get on our page, there's that public forum. You can post stuff there all the time. But if you want to get in the mainstream, you want to get in our wall of fame, so to speak, what you have to do is register the deer appropriately at our bigbuckregistry.com/mybuck site. All the instructions are there. And to be honest, the number one way to get your buck featured on our wall of fame is actually to not do the upload, which is okay. And we definitely pay attention to the upload. But if you want to get on there faster, send it to mybuck@bigbuckregistry.com. That's an email. Just attach it and send it and give me your name and the state of harvest. And if you got several pictures, that's cool too. Other than that, twitter.com/Big Buck Registry, youtube.com/Big Buck Registry. You can give us a call at 724-613-2825. Leave us some feedback about the show. If you'd like to be on the show, you can leave us a message there. And if you'd like to do a share for share, let's say you're an outdoor firm and you've got another Facebook page. If you'd like to get some attention on our page, where there are 130,000 fans and followers, just send in, go to the website, www.bigbuckregistry.com /S4S. Now I can breathe. That's
Wow.
a lot. It's a lot of words, dude.
That's big buck everywhere, big buck.
Everywhere a big buck. Dude, this has been an awesome show. And Pat Howard, rocking it with the cameras. Love the content, love the cameras, love the quality of the cameras. So if you haven't picked one up and you're looking for a very affordable, high-end camera, check out Covert.
Absolutely. Check out their customer service if you need it too. Unbelievable.
Absolutely.
All around, this is a great company, and Pat Howard's a great guy, and I'm very fortunate to say that that's one guy I'm glad I got to meet in this world.
Yep, you actually got to hang out with a great Pat Howard. So.
Absolutely. I've hung out with him twice now, and there's more to come in the future, I'm sure.
Yep. Well, man, I think that's a wrap. I'm Jay Scott.
And I'm Dusty Phillips.
This is the Big Buck Registries Big Buck Podcast. See you next week.
Can't wait.